Hi everyone, thanks for joining me. My name is Rob and this is the Ruddr 101 webinar for November 2021. Before we jump into the demo, a little bit of information about Ruddr. Ruddr is a modern professional services platform built for companies with 1 to 1,000 billable personnel. Our key differentiators are the user experience of Ruddr, our high level of customer support, and our attractive pricing. On that pricing topic, it's important to point out that all of your non-billable personnel get free access to Ruddr. This includes your salespeople, marketing, accountants, legal, all of those non-billable roles that still need visibility into the information that's in Ruddr, but they may not be your power users, they may not be billable. Those people get free access to Ruddr and you only pay for your billable personnel. And yes, we are obsessed with customer satisfaction. When you sign up for Ruddr, you'll begin your 30-day free trial. This free trial doesn't require a credit card and there's no obligation to use Ruddr at the end of the trial. As a part of your 30-day free trial, the Ruddr team provides basic onboarding at no cost. This onboarding covers a 4-week period, starting with the first day when you create your Ruddr workspace, all the way through in-user training in week 4. In that first day, you'll create your workspace and your user account for the workspace admin. You can also create accounts for any other users that'll be evaluating Ruddr during the trial. We'll also help you with some basic workspace settings and configuration. In week 1, we'll work on further configuration of the workspace. In particular, we'll help you customize data for the workspace, including your project types, your expense categories, practices, etc. We'll help you configure custom security roles, and we'll also help you configure your invoice defaults. During week 2, we help you import your data if you've got data in an existing system that you need to import into Ruddr. We have standard templates and integrations that make this data import process easy. If you're not importing data, we'll help you configure your projects and project settings, including things like the billing type, project team, roles, rates, budget, etc. During week 3, we focus on your integrations. We'll help you install and configure integrations such as QuickBooks Online, Slack, or Expensify. Once these integrations are installed, we'll help you test them and also train you on how to use those integrations. And finally, during week 4, we'll focus on in-user training. We'll help you invite all of your workspace members into your Ruddr workspace. We'll then provide a training video to help you train your workspace members. We can also do a Q&A session over Zoom to answer any questions that your members have. And then we help you prepare your workspace for go live. Getting help and questions answered about Ruddr is super easy. You can always contact your account executive or your onboarding lead via email. Those individuals will be happy to set up a Zoom conference to discuss any needs that you have. Also, you can click the Need Help link at the bottom left of the Ruddr screen. This will connect you with our live support chat. You can also email support at help@ruddr.io, or you can browse our knowledge base at help.ruddr.io. Now we're ready to jump into a high-level demonstration of Ruddr. Okay, we're logged into a workspace called Palermo Consulting. At the top right of the screen, you can see my name, followed by my workspace. On the left side of the screen is our main nav bar. Each of the main sections of the nav bar can be expanded to show individual options. Across the top of the screen is the Omni search bar. This allows you to search for clients, projects, or tasks. Just click in this area, type what you're looking for, and you'll see a categorized list of results. To the right of the Omni search bar is the time overlay window. Just click in this area to bring up your time entries for the current week. You can use the arrows to go backward or forward, or you can use the calendar at the top right to select a specific day. If you want to see any time entry on this screen, you just click on the time entry and the Edit Entry drawer will be shown. To the right of the time overlay area is your user profile menu. This menu will show the workspaces that you're a member of. Most people are only a member of a single workspace. You can create a new workspace, edit your profile, change your password, visit our knowledge base, engage in chat support, see the new features within Ruddr, or visit the Ruddr public website. Also from this menu, you can log out of Ruddr. The default screen in Ruddr is the Personal Dashboard. The Personal Dashboard shows a summary of your time entries for a given period of time. You can change this time frame using the drop-down at the top right of the dashboard. We're currently looking at our time entries for last week. We could switch that to this month to date, or our time entries for last month. We could also choose a quarter time frame, or our time entries for the current year or the previous year. Depending on the time frame that you've selected at the top right, the bars on the personal dashboard will either show a quarter, a month, or a day. Notice that the bars are color-coded, with green representing client billable time, red representing client non-billable time, yellow representing internal time, and light blue representing time off. Beneath the graph, the numeric values represented by the colors above are shown. Again, these are the client billable hours, client non-billable hours, internal hours, and time off hours. To the right of this area, those hours are represented by their current status. That could be not submitted, pending approval, rejected, or approved. Beneath this area, we show your utilization through 3 different lenses. The first is your billable utilization, which is your billable hours divided by your capacity. Note that we also have a target for your billable hours, which gets set by your workspace admin. The next utilization figure is your client utilization, which is all hours worked for the client, including billable and non-billable hours, divided by your capacity. And finally, your total utilization is the total of all hours worked minus any time off hours for the period, divided by your capacity. The main nav bar shows all of the Ruddr modules that you have access to. Depending on your security role, you may not have access to all of the modules shown here. The home area allows you to get to your dashboard, your projects list, your tasks and allocations, as well as a Ruddr guide. The manage area allows you to get to your projects and clients. The time area allows you to get to time entries, time approvals, and time auditing. The expenses area allows you to get to expense reports, expense approvals, and expense auditing. The billing area allows you to get to the Ready to Bill screen, the Invoices screen, and the Payments screen. The Resources area allows you to get to resource allocations, which you can view by member or by project. The Reports allow you to get to several types of reports grouped by time, expenses, utilization, financial, and administrative. And the Settings area is only accessible by workspace admins, and it allows you to get to workspace settings, invoice settings, members, security roles, custom data, features, integrations, and billing. As you can see, there's quite a lot of functionality available to you within Ruddr. For the rest of this webinar, we'll focus on the most commonly accessed functionality. The most common activity within Ruddr is time tracking. To track time, simply click on the Time main navbar option, which will bring up the default time entries screen. From this screen, you can view your time entries using a day view, week view, month view, or a list view. The two most common views for recording time are the day view and the week view. From the day view, just click on the New Time Entry button in the center of the screen to record a new time entry. From the New Entry drawer, type in the amount of time that you worked, select either project time or time off, select the project that you worked on. Note that Ruddr will only show projects you're assigned to in this list. Then select the role on the project. Note that you can be assigned to more than one role on a project. Then optionally select the task that you worked on. When you select a task, notice that at the bottom of the screen, some summary information related to that task is shown. This includes the budget for the task, the budget remaining, the task's status, the task's time frame, and who the task is assigned to. The last step from this screen is just to type in some notes about this time entry. Now that our time entry is ready to go, just click the Save and Close button. If we need to create another time entry for this day, we just click this plus button in the center of the screen. We can also use the week view to record our time entries. On the week view, we just click this plus button on the left-hand side of the screen. From here, we can select either project time or time off. For project time, we then select the project. After we select the project, if the project uses roles, we'll be able to select a role. And then optionally, we can select a task on the project. Once we've got all this information filled out, we just click the Add button. This will add that row to the week view, and then we simply click on any day of the week where we want to add time, and we type in the amount of time that we worked on that day. Note for this project that notes are required. I'll have to type in our notes before we move on. The week view makes it really easy to add time for multiple days during the week and to do that in just a few seconds. For example, if we wanted to add time to this Customer Rewards mobile app project for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, I can click here and type in that time and very easily add time entries for each of those days. You may have noticed that as we've been creating time entries, the number on the Submit for Approval button at the bottom right of the screen has been going up. This button currently says Submit for Approval 6, and that means that we've got 6 time entries on this view that haven't been approved yet. If we switch to the day view, notice that we only have 1 time entry that needs to be submitted. On each view, the button will reflect the number of unsubmitted time entries for that view. We can see here that for the month, we have 7 entries to submit. We simply click this button and those time entries will be submitted to their approvers. Another useful feature within time tracking in Ruddr is the ability to look up time for anyone else in the workspace. If you're a workspace time and expense administrator, based on your security role within Ruddr, you'll see this Teammates drop-down at the top right of the screen. From this drop-down, you can select any other member of the workspace. When you select a member, you'll interface with these time views as if you are that member. At any point, if you want to switch back to your own time entries, just click this green X in the Teammates dropdown, and now you'll be looking at your own time entries again. The last time tracking feature that we'll look at in this webinar is time approvals. If you're set up as a project admin on a project and that project requires manual time approval, those time entries will be submitted to your approval queue as soon as the members of the project submit their time. To see this queue, just click on the Approvals option within the time area. The Approvals screen shows all of the time entries that are pending my approval. I can review these time entries by simply clicking on the row of the time entry that I want to review. This will open up the Edit Entry drawer. To approve a time entry, I just click the thumbs up icon on the right-hand side of the row. To reject a time entry, I click the thumbs down icon. Note that when I do this, I'll have to supply a reason for the rejection. I can take action on more than one row at a time. I can just check the rows that I want to take action on, and then choose the bulk action at the bottom right-hand side of the screen. If I want to approve all 4 of these items, I just click this button and all 4 immediately go to the approved state. I can also click the single checkbox at the top left and approve all of the entries submitted by that user. The next area that we'll take a look at is expense tracking. Expense tracking in Ruddr works similarly to time tracking. To create an expense report in Ruddr, just click this New Expense Report button at the bottom right of the screen. This will open up the New Report drawer. From here, we type in the title of the report and then select the date of the report. Optionally, we can provide notes on the report. Once we're done with this information, we just click the Save and Close button. At this point, we've got a blank expense report. To add an expense item to this report, just click the New Expense Item button in the center of the screen. This will open the New Item drawer. From here, select the expense category for this expense, type in the name of the vendor, select the date, type in the expense amount, optionally select a project to associate this expense with. If the expense should be billable to that client, click the Bill to Client checkbox. If the expense is reimbursable to you, click the Reimburse to Me checkbox. Optionally, you can provide notes on the expense. Lastly, you can upload one or more receipts for this expense using the Receipts tab of the New Item drawer. Once you have all of this information filled out, just click the Save and Close button to add this expense item to your expense report. To add an additional item to this expense report, just click the plus button in the center of the screen. Once you've added all of your expense items to your expense report, you're ready to submit those items for approval. To do this, just click the Submit for Approval button at the bottom right of the screen. The approval process for expense items is identical to the process we reviewed earlier for time entries. We won't spend any additional time reviewing this approval process now. The next thing we'll look at in Ruddr is the project dashboard. Each project in Ruddr has a dashboard that shows important information about the project. The default tab on the project dashboard is the Overview tab. At the top of the Overview tab is the Project Progress graph. This graph shows all the hours that have been worked on the project since the beginning of the project through the current day. Note that you can switch this graph to view revenue if your security role allows you to see revenue on the project. Beneath this graph, you've got the total hours, which is comprised of the total billable hours and the total non-billable hours. You can also see the budget for the total hours, as well as the budget for billable and non-billable hours. On the right-hand side of the Overview tab is an informational pane that includes information about the project and the client. The project information includes the billing type, the budget, the project type, etc. Note that you can also associate the project with a cloud folder or with a Slack channel. Below that, we have details about the client, which includes the contacts within the client. Below the project progress graph, we have some key performance indicators. Again, you'll only be able to see the indicators that you have permission to. These indicators include the realization rate, effective rate, services margin, hours, expenses, and services revenue. Note that you can look at these for the current month, the previous month, or for the entire history of the project. The remaining tabs of the project dashboard include the Team tab, which shows all of the team members, the Tasks tab, which shows all of the tasks that have been defined on the project, including their budget status, the Time tab, which shows a summary of all of the time, either grouped by role or grouped by project member, the Expenses tab, which shows all of the expenses on the project, grouped by their expense category, the Invoices tab, which shows all of the invoices on the project. We can click on any invoice to view the invoice. Note that we have to have permission to view invoices in order to do this. The Client Approvals tab, which is an optional piece of functionality that allows you to send time and expenses to clients for approval. And the Allocations tab, which shows all of the allocations for this project. These are all the individuals on the project team and what they've been assigned to work on. Next, we'll look at how easy it is to create a new project in Ruddr. Just click on the Projects menu option and then click this Create a Project button. From here, type in the name of the new project, select an existing client or click the Add a New Client button, select the billing type, which can be time and materials, fixed fee, fixed monthly, or non-billable. Then select whether or not the project will use project roles. Projects in Ruddr can assign bill rates directly to project team members, or you can use roles, assign team members to those roles, and then associate a bill rate with each role. Lastly, we check whether or not we want this project to have a budget. Once these fields are filled in, we just click the Save button. This will open up the Edit Project drawer. From here, we can fill out the rest of the information about the project. If our organization uses practices, we can select a practice that this project is going to be owned by. We could type in notes about the project, set the status, select the project type. We could choose a start date and a planned end date for the project. If we have a project code, we can type that in. We can select any optional project tags that we want to associate with this project, and note that you have full control to create any tags that you need for your workspace. Then we have various settings about the project, like whether or not it'll use roles, whether or not the time entries are required to have notes. Then we set our approval options. Here we can require that time entries be manually approved by the project admin, or those entries could be automatically approved by Ruddr. Then we set the billing information, including the PO number, invoice details such as payment terms, invoice address, and invoice street address, and then optionally a Slack channel and a cloud folder. The next thing we do is add our team members to this project. We just click this Add Member button, and pick the team members that we want to have on the project. Note that this green check mark denotes the project admin, which is the person who will approve the time and expenses on this project. Once we have our team set up, we click on the Roles tab and we add our project roles. Optionally, we can pick a discipline for each role and select whether or not the role will be billable. Once we've got all of our roles filled in, we then assign our team members to those roles. Note that one of the advantages of using roles in Ruddr is that you can assign a single team member to more than one role, which means that person can bill at more than one rate on the project. Once we've got all of our roles created and role assignments done, we then click on the Rates tab and we set the bill rates for these roles. With our bill rates set, we click on the Billing tab. The Billing tab allows us to bill other items to the client. These other items could include a software license, a product, or some type of materials that we're reselling as a part of the overall engagement. The last tab here is the Budget tab. In Ruddr, we can budget in 3 different ways, including a summary budget, a detailed budget, or a detailed budget that's been aggregated from all of the tasks on the project. For this example, we'll just use a detailed budget. We simply type in the number of billable and non-billable hours planned for each role on the project. Once we've typed in those hours, we have the total billable hours, total non-billable hours, the effective bill rate, and the expected revenue on the project. We can then cap the services revenue or cap the billable and non-billable hours, which will keep our team members from keying in hours that would cause the project to go into an over budget state. We can then add an expense budget for the project. For this project, we'll say that we've got a $1,000 billable airfare budget and that we've got a $500 budget for hotel and accommodations. Note that we could also include non-billable items in the budget as well. Lastly, we can budget for those other items such as software licenses or products. Once we've got this information filled in, we click Save and Close, and now we've got a project that's ready to bill on Ruddr. The next thing we'll do in Ruddr is create an invoice and then publish that invoice up to QuickBooks Online. To create an invoice, just click on this Billing main navbar option. That will default to the Ready to Bill screen. The Ready to Bill screen shows all of the items that are ready to bill through the date that's shown in this date range dropdown. This will default to through the current month, but you can switch this to another time frame. This screen will show a summary at the top that will include all of the services, expenses, and other items that have accrued throughout the month and that are now ready to be invoiced. To create an invoice for a particular project, we can just click on that project and then click on the Create Invoice button at the bottom right of the screen. Note that we can invoice for more than one project at a time, or we could invoice for all of the projects within a customer. To create the invoice, we'll click the Create Invoice button, and then we'll review the Create Draft Invoice message here that shows us the dollar amount that we're about to create. We just click the Create Invoice button, and then we're on the Draft Invoice. From the draft invoice, we can change any of the information on the invoice. We can change the invoice header information by clicking this Edit button, or we can change any of the line items of the invoice. We could change the details, update the quantity, or update the rate. We can also change the order of the line items that show up on the invoice. If we want to remove a line item from the invoice, we just click this trash can icon and that'll remove that line from the invoice. To preview the invoice, we just click the Save and Preview button. This shows us a representation of what the client will see when you send them the invoice. Once we're ready to publish this invoice, we just click the Publish button at the bottom right of the screen. This will give us a confirmation window and also have a checkbox that will be defaulted to save this invoice to QuickBooks. Note that this checkbox will only exist if you've installed the integration for QuickBooks Online. If you're ready to publish this invoice, just click the Publish button. The invoice has been published to QuickBooks, and we can see that because of this QuickBooks icon that shows at the top left of the invoice. Notice that the invoice status is now open, it's no longer a draft, and we can no longer edit this invoice within Ruddr. Once an invoice has been published in Ruddr, we don't allow editing. If the invoice is edited in QuickBooks though, QuickBooks will call the Ruddr API and update that invoice within Ruddr. We can also take the payment for this invoice either in Ruddr or in QuickBooks Online. To take that payment, we just click the button at the bottom of the screen and click the Receive Payment button. Once we click that button, we can type in the amount that we've received, choose the payment method, type in the reference number, and then click the Save and Close button at the bottom. Note that this will post the payment to QuickBooks as well. The next thing we'll take a look at is resource allocations. To view resource allocations, click on the Resources main navbar option. This will bring up the allocation screen. From this screen, we can choose either a month, week, or a day view. Also, we can use the arrows next to the date to move forward or backward in time. To the right, we have filters that allow us to filter this screen, and we have a plus button here that allows us to create a new resource allocation. We can click this button to expand all of the current allocations. We can see here for Cameron that she has multiple allocations on different projects. If we want to edit an allocation, we just click on the allocation and that opens up the Edit Allocation drawer. This would allow us to potentially change the number of hours or possibly change the start and end date of the allocation. Note that we can also drag and drop these allocations, and we can increase or decrease their size. We can do this using the mouse. This screen also lets us choose the metric that we want to view. It defaults to allocated hours, but we could also look at available hours. We can look at billable utilization, and we can look at target attainment. Target attainment shows us the target for each individual and also the target for the entire workspace. Note that at the bottom of this screen, we have the notion of placeholders. Placeholders can be used when you know that you need to allocate work, but you're not sure exactly who you're going to allocate that to. You can allocate the work to a placeholder and then switch that allocation to an actual team member once you know who you want to assign to the work. This screen allows you to look at both members and projects down the left-hand side of the screen. On the projects view, I get the project and can expand that to show the members who are assigned. On the members view, we have the members down the left-hand side of the screen. We can expand the member to see the projects that they're assigned to. The final area that we'll look at today is reporting. To get to reports in Ruddr, just click on this Reports main navbar option. Reports in Ruddr are in 5 different categories. These include time reports, expenses, utilization, financial, and administrative. To run any report, just click on the report name and you'll be brought to the report with the default filters set. To change those filters, just click this button at the top right of the report. We'll change this report from this month to date to all dates. The report is immediately re-rendered with all of the time in the system summarized by project. We can see here that we've got 6,340.05 client billable hours, and our total hours for this time frame are 7,571.45. If we want to export this information, all of the reports in Ruddr have a button at the top right that allows you to export to either CSV or to Excel. Well, that's the end of this webinar. We appreciate you joining us today. If you have any questions at all about Ruddr, shoot us an email at hello@ruddr.io. We'd really love to hear from you. Thank you and have a good day.